The Sony FX3 II continues to occupy a strange but fascinating position in the cinema camera conversation. It has not been confirmed, it has not been announced, and there is still no unified agreement on what it will ultimately become. Yet, despite all that uncertainty, it remains one of the most consistently discussed cameras in professional filmmaking circles. That alone says something important. The original Sony FX3 did not succeed because it was the most powerful camera on paper, but because it quietly embedded itself into real production environments. It became a dependable tool for filmmakers working across documentaries, commercials, indie films, and even high-end studio productions. Naturally, that success has created strong expectations around what the Sony FX3 II might deliver. At the center of the discussion is a clear tension between speculation and restraint. Some leaks describe a highly advanced machine with noticeable upgrades across nearly every category: sensor performance, autofocus intelligence, stabilization, audio handling, and processing power. These descriptions paint a picture of a significant leap forward in capability. However, there is also a more grounded perspective within the industry that treats much of this information with caution. In that view, many of the circulating details are still unverified, shaped more by anticipation than confirmed engineering direction. The reality likely sits somewhere between these extremes, where Sony refines its existing formula rather than rebuilding it entirely. One of the most consistent expectations for the Sony FX3 II revolves around the sensor design. Rather than chasing extremely high resolution, many believe Sony will prioritize a more balanced approach. A moderate megapixel count combined with stacked CMOS architecture is widely considered the most likely direction. This kind of sensor would focus less on headline numbers and more on real-world performance advantages such as faster readout speeds, improved low-light behavior, and better overall efficiency. If implemented, a stacked sensor would directly improve motion handling. One of the biggest limitations in many digital cinema cameras is rolling shutter distortion, which becomes visible during fast pans or quick subject movement. A faster sensor readout significantly reduces this issue, allowing footage to retain natural geometry even in dynamic shooting conditions. For handheld filmmakers, documentary crews, and action-focused shooters, this improvement is not just technical, it fundamentally changes how usable the camera feels in real environments. Processing power is another area where expectations are steadily rising. The Sony FX3 II is expected to benefit from a newer generation of imaging pipeline architecture that improves overall speed and responsiveness. Faster processing does not only affect still or burst performance, it also influences autofocus, video stability, and real-time image analysis. Sony's autofocus system is already considered one of the strongest in the industry, but the next evolution is expected to bring more intelligent tracking behavior, particularly in complex scenes where subjects move unpredictably or overlap with others. Rather than simple subject detection, the expectation is for more contextual awareness. This means the camera could better understand how a subject is moving within a scene, predict motion paths, and maintain focus with fewer interruptions. In practical terms, this reduces the need for constant manual correction and allows filmmakers to concentrate more on framing and storytelling instead of technical adjustments during fast-paced shooting. Audio performance is also gaining attention in discussions about the Sony FX3 II. While often overshadowed by visual features, audio remains a critical part of professional production. Expected improvements include better internal recording flexibility, improved dynamic range, and potentially more advanced integration with multi-channel workflows. For solo shooters and small crews, this kind of upgrade can streamline production significantly by reducing dependence on external recording systems. What makes the Sony FX3 II discussion interesting is that most of the expected changes do not feel like radical reinventions. Instead, they feel like refinements aimed at improving reliability, consistency, and usability. This aligns closely with the philosophy of the original FX3, which succeeded because it simplified the filmmaking process rather than complicating it. It delivered strong performance without overwhelming users with unnecessary complexity. Image quality remains one of the central pillars of expectation. A sensor designed with balanced resolution and improved light gathering efficiency could deliver noticeably better low-light performance. This would translate into cleaner shadows, more controlled highlights, and smoother tonal transitions in difficult lighting conditions. For many filmmakers, especially those working in uncontrolled environments, these qualities are more valuable than simply increasing resolution numbers. Motion rendering is another important factor. Faster sensor readout not only reduces rolling shutter but also improves the overall feel of movement in footage. Camera motion becomes more natural, and fast action retains clarity without distortion. This contributes directly to a more cinematic look, particularly in handheld shooting scenarios where movement is constant and unpredictable. High frame rate recording is also expected to remain a key feature, though likely with a focus on maintaining quality rather than pushing extreme specifications. The emphasis is expected to be on clean, usable slow motion that preserves dynamic range and avoids heavy compromises in image quality. This aligns with the FX line's practical approach to filmmaking tools. Stabilization improvements are also part of the anticipated evolution. Even modest upgrades in in-body image stabilization can have a meaningful impact on usability, especially for handheld shooting. When combined with optimized lens coordination, stabilization helps reduce reliance on external rigs, making the camera more flexible for run-and-gun environments. If the Sony FX3 II does eventually arrive, its success will likely depend on whether it can preserve that same identity. Not by trying to be the most advanced camera in every category, but by being the most dependable in the moments that matter. In an industry where capabilities are becoming increasingly similar across brands, the real difference is no longer what a camera can do, it is how seamlessly it allows filmmakers to do their work.